Or is that like grass jelly?
Yeah, that's what they had. What's the fancy one? Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
I got you.
Thank you. I'm actually not a connoisseur on this so much. But yeah, that would be the fancy one. But seriously, it is a good question. How many barracks does ByuN have? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? I think that is actually an option, but not usually. In this case, it is legitimately 2, and it might sound weird, but this is actually the more normal one, right? The 1 racks led into the proxy factory that was insanely effective versus Raynor. Fantastic. You do have the 3 racks, which then would be pretty dedicated, but the 2 racks, that's what ByuN's been doing, man. That's his bread and butter a lot of the time.
Yeah, no kidding. Now I'm a little bit interested. That's a really fast reactor on the follow-up. I wonder what he's going to do with that. But for now, obviously, he's going to look to get as much damage as he can with these first 2 Reapers. And yeah, obviously, Serral so far passing the skill check. He says, ByuN, I can micro too.
Yeah, I'm looking at the production tab. ByuN adding on a quicker reactor is going to be able to get to a couple Marines faster too, and then push away potentially any Overlord. Now I say potentially because Serral did manage to sneak that Overlord into the back lines, which can be difficult to discern on the Terran side is exactly where they're going to go, and he is actually grabbing a 3rd barracks.
He is, yeah. This is a pretty quick follow-up, and the reasoning for that is, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, he's only gone for 2 Reapers, and that is not the standard. Yeah, normally it's 3 Reapers. Sometimes we've even seen Terran players going up to 5 Reapers to try and deny a 3rd base. Maru's done that a fair bit. But ByuN, he says, you know what? I'm coming in with something a little bit spicy. I'm going to come in with a curveball with a little bit more curve on it.
Yeah, little bits. The 3 racks follow-up to the 2 racks isn't uncommon, but then to ensure that your opponent doesn't realize what is going down, that is a really important thing. Now, Serral's picked up on the fact that it was only 2 Reapers, make that only 1 now as this one goes in for the last-ditch scout, and so he might be picking up on something being a little bit different. But like I was saying, the Overlord is in a tricky spot. It could actually go to the right and be totally fine, get that scout, go to the left. In this case, that would be correct. Both sides now blocked out by Marines, though. It actually is just a matter of Serral being able to get that close enough to the 3rd barracks, which I think is really in question. He doesn't know where exactly the base is that has the technology or the extra production, but ByuN, of course, knows and has probably studied Serral's patterns on the Overlords. Moves his Marines away, probably the last, the wrong second, but actually just to check on the minerals, and then, man, he is checking the front line, see how many Marines are being added up.
Yeah, I'm really curious what that actually was for from Serral, because it checks the minerals, but like, I'm curious as to what it could be checking for, like that there's SCVs being produced, I guess?
Well, yeah, that would be one thing, but I think also sometimes if it is a factory follow-up, you might have Hellenes that are in the natural.
Ah, yes.
Could be it.
Very insightful.
Basically, Serral's trying to make sure that he gets the scout, which he actually gets with the Lynx. That is the easiest way to do it. But I feel like he was trying to ensure the scout would happen without actually sacrificing the Overlord, inefficiently, I suppose, without actually scouting. So he was kind of like, yeah, no. Finally gets the full-on scout with just a Ling. It is going to be the 3 racks, so that Marine pressure at the front line, something that Serral is going to have to take seriously. But ByuN's got a decision to make. Does he try and pop the stim, go for the win? Or does he just back away and add in more Marines later? He is going to pop the stim. Grabs 1 queen, looking for a second. Lings are desperate for the surround. Marines with stim, pretty powerful, but the stim is going to wear off, forcing a second, and that's where suddenly the Ling Queen combination is start taking these down.
Yeah, this was a pretty good fight for ByuN to start off, but Serral able to keep the distance with those queens. Even though he lost 2 queens right there, you can see that it was a big commitment from ByuN. And I think that was good enough for Serral to be okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be thrilled because Serral's literally never happy unless it's a perfect game. But I think you can be okay with that. Now, ByuN, we got to talk about the follow-up. This is not the only phase. He is going to be going for a big 5 racks commitment off of 2 bases. And Serral, he doesn't have the fastest layer.
No, he doesn't, but he is grabbing a Roach Warren, which I think is a powerful move against someone who is dedicating to a 2 base.
Yes.
Now, the power of generally this build, the 2 racks opener into the follow-up with a lot of Marines, as that Overlord doesn't quite get the full scout, but it did notice a lack of 3rd CC where it usually would be. And it did see the extra barracks too, so that's actually perfect.
Yeah.
But anyways, the power of the build that ByuN has chose is that it is hard to know exactly what's going on a lot of the time, not this particular game, but then also it's hard to react perfectly. Even though you have the knowledge, the execution is difficult because of the Zerg you know, dilemma. Do you make enough drones to supplement the income as the game goes on, or do you need the army now and then peter out because you don't have the economy later on? And that's the balancing act that very few Zergs can do perfectly, but, you know, Serral's kind of one of them.
I would say he's probably the best in, you know, period at it. Like, it feels like he never over drones unless he's really, really hoodwinked, but we are going to see ByuN getting the cancel on that 4th base. That's obviously a nice start. Serral doesn't even try and contest. Now, this is a scary position for Serral to try and engage, and the siege tank finds a good position. One of the queens goes down, a lot of transfuse being used. Baneling speed is not done yet, and these Ravagers not done either. ByuN is getting a lot of value here.
Yeah, finding a moment. Serral was not quite prepared. Also getting a little bit of supply block, but now he is prepared. Corrosive Bile is finally coming down, taking out that one tank. ByuN saw that coming and just got out of dodge. But I still would say that he took the moment when it was granted to him. You know, that could have been a shyer, less confident Terran that would have been like, oh, never mind, back away immediately. Wouldn't have found even a little bit of damage. In this case, the canceled 4th base, a couple of killed Banelings, Queens, and a bit of panic there from Serral, who was only supply blocked for a hot second, by the way. I actually thought that might have been a bigger issue, but he was quick to fix that.
It's funny that we talk about panic for Serral and it's like 4 seconds of like relative uncertainty, but that's correct. Like, that's how high of a standard we hold him to. +1 Carapace is going to complete momentarily. The drop in the main base will get jumped by Serral. He's going to target down the medevac, gets one of them. Well, Carapace will complete, but the Marines, man with gun, go burr.
Yeah. Especially before that +1 Carapace was actually done. Carapace being done from the onset of the Lings onto those Marines would have been a huge difference. Instead, that requires a bit more attention, allowing ByuN to find a bit more room on the right side. Serral grabs a tank, but gives up a couple of Ravagers for it. You can't go too far on a crit because the Banelings are prepared. ByuN quick to the pickup and the retreat. Serral's starting to get awfully low on the splash, but still able to dismantle that anchor and force the entire medevac army back.
Man, this is a really close, hotly contested game. And Fear Dragon talked about the ultimate of ByuN. I mean, it looks like ByuN is charging up that Kamehameha just right about now. But does he have enough to blast through, I don't know, Goku? Sure.
I mean, he brought up a MOBA, which is just entirely out of our depth. I mean,
yeah, right, yeah.
What characters are you talking about? I don't know. But seriously, ByuN is supercharged. Serral is trying to keep his head above water to an extent, but it is one of the situations where he's usually pretty good at it. He's usually pretty good at making those wise decisions in the heat of the moment where things are tough, and certainly things are tough right now as more Ravagers get caught off guard, not realizing the army was so quick to pounce over to the 3rd base after killing that 4th. Serral did grab a reinforcing tank and once again takes down the anchor for this push, which means that if he does have Banelings, he won't be really pushed any further. Now it's a resource trade as ByuN stands his ground, snipes the Banelings, thinks that he has a moment with 1-1 up against only the Carapace, and more Lings are flooding in, and that will save the day. But ByuN is seriously bringing this to Serral. He is not letting him have a moment of peace.
No, he is not. This game is actually so high level. The micro from both players, the target fire on the Banes was brilliant there from ByuN. Serral almost got the Ravagers run over, but he microed those back in response. Very well done from both players. For me, the MVPs of this fight, of this entire game for Serral, have been those Ravagers.
Yeah.
Without those, I think he's killed like 4 tanks. Maybe even 5 with those Biles, and without those, I think ByuN might have already won.
Yeah, and it is... It's been difficult to determine if exactly it's been worth it, but clearly it has, right? Because he has lost some Banelings, some Lings, some Ravagers in return for some of those tank snipes. But then I think it has less to do with the necessary resource trade directly, which we got brought up by the Observer, and as much as it is the domino effect, right? If you do not suddenly have 5 tanks appearing with this push, it is so much easier to deal with. So every tank really counted. Worthwhile so far by the looks of it for Serral. Does still need to be careful as tanks are on the high ground getting some good shots, but he's looking to try and defend this 4th base. No, gonna go ahead and give it up once again.
I might contest it now, but he's got the Liberator on the main base, killing another bunch of drones. ByuN is only a few workers down, but a counterattack on the other side of the map is going to find some damage. 4th base does ultimately get sacked, and I think that is the right call. Serral is about to be ahead in upgrades. ByuN, oh, he's doing a ByuN thing. He got +2 armor instead of +2 attack. please, Control Z, undo.
Yeah, can we just like butt him out, you know, for a hot second? Be like, no,
do that. Don't do that. Oh, but there it is. He starts up the +2. Good stuff.
Yeah, he does, but Serral has grabbed that +2 carapace far ahead of ByuN's upgrades. But will it matter? ByuN has found another ticket into the main base. He's gotten to a really nice position as well. So many Lings being wasted trying to take care of that when really it needed to be the Banelings trying to actually intervene with the reinforcements as well. Does not go as good as Serral was hoping. And Serral's supply is now extremely worrying. When it was even as a Zerg versus Terran, that is obviously worrying, but maybe he was keeping his head above water. Now with a 20 supply deficit, actually 30 in army, Serral is running out of steam. He desperately needs his 4th base up or to get some counter damage done to ByuN's fresh 2 bases as he lifted his orbital to take that 3rd.
Yeah, this is a fresh injection of money. You know, you got that corporate stimulus package from that lifted 3rd command center, and that is really going to help ByuN with his monopoly.
ByuN just needs to make sure not to make any huge mistake, like letting a medevac die. 4 Banelings are trying to get the SCVs. They take a little detour, but there you go. A lot of SCVs going down, and that is something that Serral absolutely needed, but at the same time, perhaps still unable to grab this 4th base. These drones hardly get any mining time on it, as ByuN is going to stay in his position, doesn't worry about creep. It's really not that far advanced. He's got the anchor of the tank, and now he's added in the dynamic of the Widow Mines, further complicating the engagements from Serral.
Yeah, and it looks like Supreme Court Justice Serral was able to shut down that economy. We are going to see the engagement coming on in. Pretty big Widowmine shot. The flank from Serral. The Widowmine on the backside getting a lot of Banelings. ByuN will still be forced to pick up, but he holds that 30 army supply advantage, and he is about to finish up his own 2-2. That will give him upgrade parity against the Ling Bane, an upgrade advantage against the Roach Ravager, a significant upgrade advantage at that.
I don't know where he found the pennies to get a command center, man. It was like after losing all of his SCVs in the 3rd, too. Somehow, some way, able to cut, I guess, maybe the medevac production, I think, is primarily it, and some of the factory production, actually. It's not been super consistent. So something's got to give, and that was it. But the 3rd CC might just be the right move, as he still has a decent army supply. We know that. It might be a little more ambiguous for him, and he finally has the even upgrades as well. Not able to make much headroom, however, as Serral does hold on to the 4th base. He's been mining on it for minutes at this point, something he's not been able to do, and he's even grabbing his own 5th. So these guys are really scrounging around underneath the couch cushions to find the pennies, but it's barely happening. ByuN once again taking an engagement right now as Serral tries to move on in. He's got to make sure he never lacks Banelings in case ByuN sees an opportunity to pounce, but also getting a Ling run by in, hopefully even distract ByuN. ByuN is going to have to deal with that, so weirdly empty main base for these Lings, but ByuN does pull back and will regroup later.
You've activated my trap card. There's no one home.
There's actually no one to steal from.
Yeah, it's the holiday season, and you know, it's not Home Alone. It is you know, empty
They just
home.
moved. They
moved, yeah. Yeah, they brought Kevin with them this time.
Yeah, there's nothing there. Those Lings, though, I still think it was a little bit of a distraction at a pretty critical moment.
Yes.
ByuN had to seriously consider if he wanted to continue engaging, just with literal actions, you know? Both these players, extremely fast, but you definitely have to pick and choose your moments as far as your attention. And once you are comfortable back at home, then you can do all that micro that we do expect from ByuN. The stimming coming through, he's gonna have to back away from the corrosive biles. I think he's also wary of another surround. It's not a surround, it is a full-on run-by. Very quick reaction from ByuN as far as the SCV pool, but not enough reinforcements. There they are. That's plenty. But once again, a distraction that Serral will hopefully, for his sake, use to get maybe this Infestor on the front lines, maybe a couple more Creep Tumors, and of course a handful more Lings to try and keep up with the army supply of ByuN.
This game is so unbelievably scrappy. We've got Serral. I love the addition of the Infestors because they can be, even with that nerf to their damage, they can be so efficient with their ability to lock down the army, get you those Baneling connections that you're looking for. ByuN has done a phenomenal job so far of pretty much never taking big Baneling connections. Oh, nice split right there from Serral on that Widowmine, able to get one Ling off. And the Ling run-bys from Serral have been keeping him in this game.
That's not a 4th, right? It is a 3rd, so that is his 3rd orbital, just making that clear for everyone else. It's usually where a planetary would be, and it'd be easy defense, but that one Infestor that was made is taken out of the equation immediately. He does have another one on the field. Far off to the right, though, as ByuN goes into the main base. Quad drop coming in. This has been a bit of a sore point for Serral. He's quick to respond. Are the Banelings here as well? Yes, they are. The Infestor as well. He's coming on in. He's looking for the fungal. ByuN's got to get out of there. At the same time, the Lings come in to once again try and get some economic damage. Not going to happen. ByuN responds pretty easy peasy and does escape from the main base.
That was a very dangerous moment. Nice little random Widow Mine in the middle of the map. That's actually, I mean, Serral wasn't paying attention there. It's so hard in a game like this when there's so much chaos. But to that end, Serral has held his hive alive. I don't think he's got the adrenal glands yet. We're going to see a little bit of an engagement, but this is not the engagement for Serral. There is way too much bio here. It's still a 35 army supply advantage. Oh, the Dragon Drop coming back into the main base. There's not enough yet for Serral, just a couple of Banelings. If ByuN can target those down, that would be huge, but there's a few too many Zerg units still. On the other side of the map, this is looking very good for ByuN to find this base. If he can just click it down and get out, that would be huge. But he's going to try and spread for the fight.
Yeah, and then back away down south. This is going to be somewhat effective. He again avoids the fungal, but not for the Medivacs. Exactly. Oh. Serral sees the opportunity. He's not going to get the Wombo combo, but he is going to stop them from being able to pick up the bio as fast as it could have. So a lot more Marines went down. But now ByuN has a really good advantage right now, and that is that +3 attack. That has finished. And now that he's able to stand his ground, he is going to take some pretty efficient fights, but the fungal's trying to change the narrative right now. The Wombo combo tries to come in. The Banelings come in at the last second and will take down so many Marines. But at the end of the day, Serral's counterattack is not going to break ByuN's third base. ByuN, with now a 30 army supply and around 100 supply overall, just has the quality of units that Serral cannot compete with.
And Serral is desperately trying to morph in more of these Banelings to hold. The Marauders on the front line are going to tank so effectively. The spread on the Widow Mines, the spread on the Marines is good. Marauders taking so much damage. Serral trying to get every single unit he can on top of this. But the reinforcements of ByuN are flooding forward. He's doubling his opponent's army supply. Is he going to be able to break through here?
I think that he is. ByuN has found the ticket here. The Banelings are not close to finishing. They could also be focus fire to back fungal. It's not going to be enough as guessing game, basically, because once you start with that racks on the front, it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be factory, it could be starport, it could be double factory, all types of things. And the Zerg player has to be so scared of all of those options and scared of never confirming any of those options too, because Marines could pop out and kill their Overlord.
Exactly, and it's not just that they could, it's that that happened to Raynor in the previous series. ByuN is showing some impeccable series planning. You might just be looking at this and saying, it's a 3 Boba Barracks build. Who gives a hoot? This is so boring. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's so much more than that. It is a setup from the previous series against Serral's brother from Basilisk, Raynor. And he, you know, Raynor looked at him and he said, big bro, this bully just beat me up. Can you take care of him? And the bully's stepping into him and he's like, what's that? Give me your lunch money, kid.
I love this idea that ByuN is a bully. He is the sweetest.
He's the sweetest. He's actually, I've misrepresented this so poorly.
But as far as his play style, he is an absolute bully. And I would say a 3 racks Reaper is a bully move.
It's about as bully as you can get. And we do see ByuN, he checks on the third base. He's like, okay, I'll take care of you later. But he's going to get as much damage as he can right now. Serral, to that end, did send the Overlord down along the bottom side. He will be able to confirm there's no command center here. And at this point, you should be able to know that it is a 3 racks Reaper. And he didn't cut Ling speed. That is the big deal right here for Serral. If he had gone for the modified Clash Opener, he gets that Ling speed at 4 minutes. That is a long time for ByuN to be the bully. But Serral says, no, it's not going to happen.
That's a great finish accent right there. Queen is almost going to go down. It seems like it is assured, actually, but with 2 seconds to go on speed, maybe not. That Queen's still in the back line. Now the front line Queen also very injured. Ling's trying to go for the surround. Somewhat effective. Grenades popping everything left, right, and center. Another surround is about to be incoming as, again, more grenades have to be thrown down. That is going to save ByuN's Reapers, but that does also push ByuN entirely back, and that was really the important thing. The injured Queens now get time to regen as well as get more energy for transfuses, you know, whatever's coming up next, for creep threat injects, so on and so forth. The third hatch was actually never in trouble, and neither were the drones, apparently, unless you count the whole, you know, he made Lings instead of drones. But it was an excellent defense, something that can go really sour really fast. ByuN now following up with the command center and the factory. That's in the natural command center, that is, and the Overlord has seen, I believe, everything with that little check-in, and it even is going to survive.
It did miss one very interesting little wrinkle from ByuN, and that is a faster engineering bay than your average bear. It looks like ByuN might be a fan of a certain Hearthstone series beating Grandmasters with stupid stuff. And he says, I'm going to get super fast +1 after this. And, you know, I myself am a fan of Hearthstone. He's on the same... I wonder if he knows Hearthstone personally.
I don't know if it's that stupid of a build.
No, it's not. It's just a slightly faster +1. And that's... Oh, my God.
He definitely wanted that creeps.
He wanted it bad, and he got it. Ooh, nice little ambush from Serral. Is he going to be able to get away? ByuN, that is. He used all his grenades. That is a big problem. And Serral, I think, should be able to run this down. Ring around the rosy, ending in blood.
I mean, if you listen to the actual song, it's quite depressing. All those children's songs are about, like, plagues and stuff.
So this was right on brand, I think.
Yeah, it was, absolutely.
Ah, very good.
Once again, Serral, I believe, I think he's once again, I believe, picking up that it is a 2-base build,
yes.
which really, you know, there was actually theories basically around the new patch that this would be stronger, but then even before the patch, I feel like it was already getting mixed in. As a threatening move, basically, right? And it has been more effective on some bases, some maps than others, but Goldeneye has a couple of abusive tank spots. And a Roach response, I really do believe, is the correct one. That is, I believe pro gamers have said that, and they definitely are you know, smarter than I am. And it usually is. I just think that Serral in the last game did have that struggle getting the correct economy versus army situation, especially because his 4th base was denied so many times. So I still like this as the move, but ByuN showed an excellent control over the first game and was able to deliver the home run. He's looking to do so again in game 2.
He certainly is, but it is going to be, I think, a little bit more difficult because of what you said, and that is that it is quicker into more pure Roach. Really, Serral just added on Roaches for Ravagers in that previous game. This time, he's going to have the benefit of that inherent 1 armor that Roaches have.
Yes,
and yeah, it's just going to be a little bit easier. But we do see the engagement coming on in. Serral will end up losing quite a few Roaches on the bottom side. That looked like a pretty decent trade for ByuN to start off.
Yeah, I think it was okay. You don't want to overstay because you are lacking combat shields, so
yes,
eventually you do get worn down. But the one thing that I think is really, really important is that Serral's playing a much stronger foundation game for Zerg. Yeah. He's got 66 drones. He has his bases on the way. Maybe in a little bit more creep spread than the last game as well. And that's what really the opener that he did in the last game, that 3 racks, or the eventual 3 racks, we should say, really tripped up any Zerg player. You know, it's not that Serral didn't realize it would be tricky, it's just that it is a difficult balancing act to do. In this case, it's less a balancing act and more like a, okay, breathe, things can be okay if you just get the army off of this now decent economy. It's not enough to pure Ling, Bane, Ling, Muta, but that's not what he's doing. So if he can just get a solid army, get in position correctly, then ByuN's not going to have the same way of building momentum than keeping him suppressed.
No, exactly, and it is going to be really tough for ByuN. He does find a couple of pickoffs here, but there's so much creep to work through. There's so many units, and the economy is much better for Serral, as we can see those arrows. Oh, nice jump from Serral, getting on top of the tanks with those Lings. Good hot pickup from ByuN on one of them, but there was only enough room in the medevacs, kind of like how there was only enough room in the inn.
Yeah, this actually seems like it's already almost game over, man.
It's
game
looking...
over, man.
Actually, yeah, this looks pretty bad. ByuN's only got 1 siege tank here.
Yeah. He's only on 2 bases. You know, like Serral's not exactly swimming in money, but I mean, he basically is comparatively. You know, like an 85 Zerg economy with 5 bases is the intimidating one. But when you are on 3 bases, going on 4, 75, actually 75 drones now, jeez. Yeah, then of course that's winning out against the ByuN 2 base that basically never even got started. I mean, what did it do? It just like appeared, went, oh, Roaches, shoot, and then it's gonna die apparently, unless ByuN can really pull a miracle here.
Yeah, and a lot of the success from ByuN in game number 1 came off of, you know, small trades going in his favor. But in this one, even though he's taken some even trades, you know, he never had things go really well with the Reapers. A lot of them got surrounded early. It was still decent enough for Serral. The Roaches that he lost didn't put Serral into a position where he was going to lose out. And now we've got the upgrade lead for Serral. He's maxed out, and ByuN is going to have, a borderline impossible task ahead of him. Oh, even gets the friendly fire from the creep tumor. Just a little bit of coal in your stocking right there.
Yeah, 40 army supply difference that is still kind of inflated because of roaches, but again, assuming that they don't just run up that ramp right there into 3 tank fire, like it's going to be okay. A 60 supply difference overall is usually strong enough for the Zerg to handle it. A couple of his corrosive vials is awkward, but the Banelings, even slow Banelings, are stopping ByuN from really gaining all that momentum from a mistake like that. Serral was setting up either a run-by or a surround. Now it's turning into a surround. He might have to buy more time for Baneling speed to finish, or maybe not. 10 seconds to go on that. Doesn't even need it. Comes from behind with the Roaches. Gonna clear out the Liberators. Gonna clear out the tanks. And gonna clear out the entirety of ByuN's army. As Serral for a different opener at the very least. We'll see if this still evolves into a 2-base attack, but obviously a command center first. Very, very different. You know, the idea of a lot of these racks openers, the multiple racks in the front line, is that there's the confusion, the ambiguity, but there's also the consistent pressure that at any point could throw off, especially a Zerg player in their tempo. Happened in game 1, basically didn't happen at all in game 2. I do think at the end of the day, the Reaper opener, the multiple Reaper opener, wasn't effective in the last game.
Yeah, not effective enough.
Certainly not. Certainly not. Serral almost like brushed it off at the end of the day. But then you change it up once again, and you go for the command center first. We have seen ByuN still move this into a 2-base attack, and it's still pretty effective. But is that really the plan? As you said, he shut it down so easily. Serral, it is shut it down so easily that even if you start off differently, is it really the way to go? Is a 2-base attack really going to catch Serral off guard in either a surprise way or a bad execution way? More than once. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And it's not even that Serral made that many mistakes in game 1. He played very well. But the few tiny little missteps that he made in game 1, he corrected them very effectively come game 2. And, I mean, a lot of it also was composition, you know. Roach Lingbane, or Ravager Lingbane with just a few Ravagers versus pretty much pure Roach is obviously a much better setup. Now, we do see Serral, okay, he might be a little bit worried about what happened in that series between Raynor and ByuN, and he's like, never again.
Yeah, no. Alcyone has also, I think, in general, had more proxies, actually. When I think of TZs on this map, I do think of proxies, you know, Proxy Factory, 2-base, Proxy Starport even was a thing for a little while. Where, you know, it'd be like kind of weirdly in the middle of the map forever, and that was an interesting phase. I haven't seen it in a bit, but it has happened. We're also talking about a very unique map. I think a lot of the new maps have unique qualities to it, but this one has the entire kind of right side of the map disassociated from the rest of it because of the mineral pathing, right? And initially, we saw people kind of just ignore the bottom right. They were like, yeah, I'm not going to get there anytime soon. Like, I'll get to the gold base eventually. Now we have people even mining out the mineral wall to take it as their 4th, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's really changed up exactly. Thank you, Observer. It's really still changing, and thus, I think it's also still a difficult map to know exactly what your opponent's going to be planning, as we have a Hellion Banshee opener from ByuN. Kind of actually going back to a little bit of classic old school. I do expect a 3rd CC after this, but that's me. It's got to be up to Serral who actually scouts here. And I think he will get a successful scout. There's only one Marine shooting at this Overlord.
Yeah, he should be able to get a successful scout. Serral did something real cute, by the way. Now, this could actually still turn into a 2-base push, especially with that very fast stim upgrade. However, I wonder if ByuN, is he thinking mind game? Is he going to cancel the stim? No, he's just going to get it.
That would be interesting.
That would be kind of cute, and then go for like a 3rd CC. He's still going to go for the 3rd CC, he just won't cancel the stim. He's just a part of his build order here. But I would have... We saw something kind of cool from Serral with that little Ling run-by attempt. He was hoping maybe ByuN had cut his Hellion production for a little bit for that super fast 3rd CC, so that he could do a little bit of a dark move and run in with like 6 Lings, snipe down an SCVs, maybe snipe down a Mule. But, you know, it didn't work out. But it's nice to see Serral making those little tiny adjustments and continuing to keep it fresh.
He's also going to be playing Roaches once again. I do feel like, as of the last couple of weeks, Roaches have more dominated this matchup than before. It used to be very like player specific or maybe a map specific 1-1 Roach all in. But then you had players who were Roach players, Dark, maybe a Wayne, right? And then occasionally thrown in for the other guys. But it seems so common now that it's even flipped in my head a little bit for Serral. You know, only Ling Baneling versus only Roach. Well, he does add in both eventually. It's a lot more Roaches nowadays. And so I believe ByuN should also be anticipating that if he did not just straight up see the Roach Warren. I don't think Serral is making any attempt to hide it. It's pretty out there, but he has not seen it yet.
Sometimes we make roaches. Sometimes we make ultras. I used to be Vanya. Then I was Rotana. But now, I'm Wayne.
Thanks, man. That was great. I like that we have dinner and a show, you know? We got StarCraft and the Steadfast comedy show. Good times.
I'll be here all weekend.
Actually, at the signing for Steadfast, you have to ask, every single one of you has to ask for a different accent.
Yeah, and I'll have them. I'll have them all.
Yeah, that's the promise I've made for you. So 2 Banshees are also going to help in the classic dynamic that is Roaches. You know, I was talking about it seems more often that we're seeing them, but there is also the classic dynamic here where 2 Banshees do give a lot of safety when you're up against Roaches. If it is going to end up being a 1-1 all-in, which it is not in this game, the Banshees do help it quite a bit. If it's not, they still help out as far as the harassment, creep control, and run-by defense. And we will eventually have the Ling Baneling added in. It's clearly going to that stage of Ling Baneling Ravager with the Hive on the way as well. Very quick Hive, in fact. It's a 6.5-minute Hive. Serral already at 74 drones, too. How much damage has he taken in this game? 150 minerals worth. Wow.
No, he's taken a no amount of damage.
Yeah, no amount of damage. He finally did take down the Banshee of ByuN, which, to be fair, that was ByuN's first loss, too. It just,
yeah.
I think when you talk about uninterrupted games, Zerg still gets the credit, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not always the case, but it's like, I guess particularly with the greatest Zergs in the world, you're like, I didn't do anything. Oh, no, that's not good. I'm playing my game, you're playing your game, but you might be the overall better player. ByuN did bow down to him in the very beginning.
Yeah, now, I was waiting for the, like, he bows down, and then he, like, grabs his leg and just does, like, a wrestling move.
Oh,
and he's like,
can
you smell what the ByuN is cooking?
Then we have to have rules about, like,
yeah, like, you cannot actually physically assault the players, ByuN. I'm sorry. Obviously, that didn't happen because he's not, you know, a psychopath. He's a, once again, very nice human being. We love ByuN. But as this game kind of, you know, settles into the mid game and towards that late game, like you said, I do like Serral's position a fair bit. I like the transition. He gets that adrenal gland so bloody fast. This has the potential to go to a banger of a macro game.
I think it will, absolutely. You know, one thing Serral has not gotten is like particularly fast upgrades. I mean, he's getting adrenal glands at the same time as Carapace is finishing, so, you know, like that's also an extraordinary fast Hive, to be fair.
Yes.
But the point I was trying to make is that ByuN does have a 2-2 lead. He will have a 3-3 lead, as we expect in this matchup, despite Serral's extraordinarily solid setup into the late game. But ByuN really is, like, I mean, they're both playing the game that gets them to the maxed out point. ByuN might be pushing a little bit here, but I do wonder how serious it is. He has so many upgrades on the way, so much production. He still hasn't settled his 4th base, you know. I think it is just kind of drawing the line in the middle of the map. You cannot get creep spread literally all over the place, please and thank you, and a drop. But he's also getting set up for the big macro game, and probably the big bio macro game, right? He does have 2 factories, but we're going to see probably a lot of different big, you know, just groups of bio attacking different locations, which has been so exciting to see in TVZ. I mean, these guys are about to play some seriously fast TVZ, especially as Serral is adding on ultras. That's a more mobile composition, not like lurkers, all right?
Yeah.
So I think it can be rough and tumble fairly soon. ByuN does see a little opening, but again, I'm not sure he's really looking to commit there.
No, that was actually very dangerous. Those Banelings got extremely close to the Marines, a severe HIPAA violation. Meanwhile, the Ling run-by is going to get a lot of SCVs. ByuN didn't really have the units in position. Serral with the Changelings, with the Overseer on that base, he was looking for that run-by for a while, and 20 workers as really the first real engagement. There's still Lings in this base, and I'm afraid I might have caster cursed this one real hard.
Yeah, and then I doubled down on it, apparently. This is the most damage I've ever seen. This is, like, it
37 SCVs.
I think that what might have happened is, one, ByuN did it get maybe a little overeager in the middle of the map. You know, he did push quite aggressively for a phase in which I don't think you're actually set up. You know, like, only if there was a moment, and there actually wasn't. So ByuN might have just misconstrued things. But then also the fact that Ling run-by was sizable, but had crack. You know, it was crackling. So, like, that's what I don't think a Terran is necessarily thinking of when they're planting their 4th and the obnoxious Ling run-by comes to delay it. Because I think that's pretty common. it just might not be crackling on that. So, yeah, ByuN, in the blink of an eye, losing 34 SCVs, it might not kill him, but it severely offsets his power punch, which is, you know, actually being maxed out, comfortable on 4 bases, and trying to apply pressure to Serral.
Yeah, no kidding. We do see a nice little lift on the depots, but this is not a Ling run by. Those roaches are going to be able to tear down the depots very quickly. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, we got a big attack on 9 from Serral. ByuN does get a nice spread there, really nice spread in the panic, but in a backside, we do have another bunch of SCVs going down. It is Serral popping off hard here. He's going to successfully trade out the roaches for some great value. You might be saying, oh, there's a lot of roaches that went down. Wow, it's also a lot of SCVs that went down, Twitch chat. What game are you watching? A game for ants?
85 drones over, well, about halfway on the creep spread. And ByuN not being able to bypass the halfway point in some time. Certainly not effectively at any point in this game, actually. Because when he did go past the halfway point, that's when the run-by started.
Yeah.
Serral's just choosing the right moments. Like, he's been powerful. He's had the foundation. He has been able to choose his moments, but his moments are chosen, well, frankly, better than ByuN's in this game. ByuN is the one that's constantly on the back foot, and he still needs to stabilize, and Serral's not letting him.
No, he is not at all. A beautiful split on the burrow. Nice scan from ByuN. I think that might have caught all the Lings. Did it get the Ling? Did Serral manage to split some Lings up into the top left? I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think so.
No. Okay. So good job from ByuN. Was able to keep tabs on that. Of course, they are very quick reaction time players, quick, speedy players, but Serral certainly has ByuN on the back foot. A 5th base orbital command, but this is so difficult to deal with. The tech from Serral looks so powerful.
This is a fight that ByuN cannot stand up against. He's going to have to lift his orbital and run all the way back to more reinforcements and the threats of potential Widowmine shots. That's Serral going to back away, also knowing there could be a second army. There's no way that's it, right? Even though he has been doing damage. It's not. Second army was in the middle of the map. At best, cleaning up creep. Not much more to say in return. The good news is for ByuN fans, it does seem like he has finally stabilized. That 4th base finally got to mining. He cleared up all the run-bys, and his 5th temporarily dislodged, but that is the good thing about having an orbital, is that you can lift. So things are certainly back in the way that, you know, both players can get their moments. ByuN was almost pushed off the cliff. He was like waving his hands around, being like, oh yeah, this is gonna not go well. And now he's finally found his footing. So now we can start talking about ByuN getting aggressive and getting some damage done himself. Perhaps that is quite the Zerg army ready for that. And I believe the Ultras do have all their upgrades as well. Plus 3 Carapace, just shy of it, doesn't really need it for this particular moment. ByuN trying to get the two-pronged attack. Not paying attention to the top left, gets that totally dismantled.
That was a big pickoff for Serral. And I've been watching the supplies, I've been watching the banks. The supplies of Serral did not go down, and that bank didn't go down much either. A lot of Banelings do die to a single Widowmine, but that is nowhere near enough just yet. ByuN is going to have to split very well against this army, and he does an excellent job. Parasitic Bomb finally going to tail off that Banshee and a medevac to boot. But once again, it feels like the bank of Serral is just, I mean, it's the Iron Bank of Bravos at this point, and it is looking like it is going to get its due.
6 bases, one of them a gold. Doesn't even need the Rich Vespian Geyser yet, apparently.
Yeah, no, this is looking increasingly difficult. The only thing that isn't going perfectly for Serral right now is that the creep threat isn't engulfing the map. It's protecting the bases quite nicely. Oh, actually, wow, a fairly unfriendly Fire Widowmine right there, but fortunately there was no follow-up from Serral. ByuN, oh, look at that. He's scared about the bird infestors.
Yeah.
And having to scan in a situation like this is not what he wants to be doing, and not finding anything for it. We are going to see Serral coming in once again with a lot of these Banes. Corrosive Vials finding those Widowmines. This looks so rough.
ByuN has a lot of army that's not involved. Always keep that in mind. So as the orbital lifts and the planetary tries to help out on the hold at the very least, going to cost Serral more. He does get taken down. ByuN does have that army that's also coming through, right? So if Serral ever makes the mistake of not having a big enough bank or not having enough larva to remax, that is the time for ByuN to shine. It's not actually there, though. Serral's well aware of that. He also is making sure to have at least enough gas, even though he hasn't taken all of his gases, to remax once again. He's added in another option for technology, too, which I really like. He's going to be able to bounce between Lurkers, which is a different type of engagement, than Massling, Hydra, Ultra. And he could also add in Nidus Worms. He's been doing a lot of big drops as well. Just giving himself all the options to actually pry this Terran open. As ByuN is refusing to die, and good on him. He still has that chance to take a really excellent engagement and start turning things around. It hasn't happened quite yet, but he is staying the course. Trying another base up to the bottom right. Not going to happen right now, but might happen soon. It's going to be all off of creep, and I think this is one of the first times that ByuN's entire army is here with a nice concave. That won't be super successful. Just a little delay further on that extra base.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it best. ByuN is just refusing to die. And the thing is, he does keep securing bases. Like, yes, they're contested. Yes, he is taking, you know, absolute gut punch after gut punch, but he is not getting knocked out. He is refusing to die in this matchup between these two juggernauts, but this is a lot of Lings and Banes. Big Widowmine shots. Ooh. Oh, is that enough for Serral for ByuN to hold? The answer is yes, but on the bottom side, there is another attack coming in from Serral. ByuN's gonna hold there for now. More Banelings, though, on the recharge. Is there enough? Nice EMP on the Viper. Very good stuff, but there's a burrowed Infestor, and that is gonna be dangerous. Oh, the Unburrow gets a big bungle.
That is a nice bundle and a friendly fire Widowmines as well. ByuN's supply does take a significant hit, but he is still somewhat stable on the 5 bases, just trying to grab that 6, which I was surprised even lived. Serral may be missing an opportunity to just have like 6 Lings on it to actually get the full kill. Now it has been repaired up. He's been very mindful, or tried to be very mindful of all the Widowmines, so a couple on the front going down, as he is relentless in the Zerg onslaught. Once again, Remax and looking for a weak point on ByuN's defenses. ByuN not able to be given that time to get his own Remax. Might just get broken right here, right now. Ghost Cloak up to try and save the day, but Lings are on top of the gold, and the production is camped on that factory. 30 SCVs go down again, and there you have it. Serral will grab the 2-1.